Can you plan a campaign if you don't know what's going to happen? As a sandbox model, a game with a mission system or any sort of one adventure per session can be very attractive, especially if the players understand that's what we're doing. Each new adventure will be a new client, location, faction contact, patron who wants them to do something and offers a suitable reward or payment. It's their choice, though, which sides they take, who they work for, and who they make enemies of. Can it get repetitive, though? And should we either ditch that structure or accept the game won't last more than a few sessions? Sort of, not necessarily, and no. Let me explain. Adventure structures are a fascinating topic, and writing your own set of them is something I highly recommend. Later this video, I'll be showing my actual campaign setup notes for a campaign I'm planning to kickstart your ideas. So do stick around for that. I'm going to be using Root as the example game of this video because it's an excellent RPG and I'm currently obsessed with it. It's the campaign I'm planning. It has a map creation game for the GM, which I adore as a way of making prep fun. And the core book comes with a starting adventure that could, if we were to let it, condition us as to what proper or all Root games are supposed to be like. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the suggested adventure in the box or book for a game provides you with a required template, and I want you to resist that. For Root's starter adventure, that template we can extrapolate out is this. The clearing the vagabonds arrive in has 3 or 4 ongoing situations that will escalate along set paths. Which ones do you get involved with? Do you get involved at all? And which end up on the wrong side of you? Resolution comes, and we move on to the next clearing and loop back to the beginning again. But we don't have to. And the interesting way not to is to set up a campaign arc with a plot that will take us to the end of the game. The second Root book, Travellers and Outsiders, has some excellent ideas on how to transition from the first few sessions into a campaign, but doesn't do quite as much as I want it to in terms of sparking a GM's ideas, especially a new GM's. Yes, do look out for recurring places. Yes, do reuse non-player characters. But let's look at the fundamental structure, question it, and see what we can shake loose. But Marcus, if we write sandbox adventures beforehand and then decide the plot, is it still a sandbox? It can be if we write structure and templates and get a bit mad libs with the plot itself, if we're writing it during rather than before. The first and most useful thing for any campaign, I think, is to decide how long it's going to last before you start. For a Powered by the Apocalypse, PBTA game, I'd say 10 to 12 sessions maximum before having a finale or a season finale and deciding if we're going to swap to a new game. Continue this one with a break or just continue with the background and we'll get new characters. The important thing to do is to think up some more adventure structures, not the adventure details, just the story shapes. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural both did this well, peppering Monster of the Week repeats with other formats and a slow advancement of the season's arc. Here's my actual notes for a planned Root campaign of 10 sessions. First 3 sessions, the typical you've arrived in a clearing and you can see X and Y and Z are all ongoing. You're approached by a person from faction A to assist with their shady scheme so we can get used to the system, the die rolling, the playbooks, the background. The fact that each of the factions think that they're the ones who are the real good guys, and they're employing the party because they're the ones who are morally grey. This is the story hook as to why the factions want to get player characters involved at all. Before their reputations get too big for them, they're the perfect off-the-books meddlers. I'm going to resist anything obviously heroic that will make the PCs look like the good guys to all sides. So no, help, help, there's a fire at the orphanage. I am going to have to be pulling them forcibly into the schemes and machinations each time because I don't want any, my character doesn't like the look of this, I'm going to go on to the next clearing. It's 3 sessions, so each one could be themed to one of the core root factions, but more likely each will feature 2 of them. Likewise, the typical RPG trifecta of combat, exploration, and social. We're not going to have one each, it's going to be a mix. But if this is a new and untested group, or your players aren't familiar with PBTA games, then these are the introductory 3-shot. Each one in a different clearing. If this was a space game, there'd be different planets. I won't go into the first session with the map drawn up already. I'm loading the players with enough information as it is. I will have that ready and pretty for the 3rd session, because once again I'm using Jeff McBride's magic trick template, but this time with the sessions. A bang start, a lyrical middle, and end with them wanting more. Showing them the map is a way of doing this. And one specific thing I'm going to have on that map is clearings that look closer on paper than the actual official route between them. Here's why. In the 4th session, I'm going to time jump ahead and start with a round of questions about the previous few off-screen days. What went wrong? Why did you have to leave in a hurry? Who do you blame for that? Encourage the players to drop themselves and each other into trouble that they're fleeing. Then start the session proper with them on the run from the previous clearing and hoping they outpace their reputations. When a friendly NPC from session 1 or 2 reappears from the woods themselves, they're injured but stable, and speak of a forgotten clearing in the trees, and motion to a path that you can only now see that they're pointing it out to you. Which NPC? I won't decide until that session. I'm not going to decide in session 1. I'm deciding when they're on the road. They need a place to hole up for a while until the winds of the woodland war blow fresh sand over their latest indiscretions. Something they find in the clearing, the wrecked clearing, will be significant later. Is it a mysterious person, forbidden knowledge, smuggled goods, a shallow grave, bears? I'll put all of those in, and I'll see which ones the players find significant. There's my springboard. This is a route-specific beat, but I want them to know that the roads between the clearings are not the whole woodland. What makes them vagabonds is the courage, the daring, the perhaps foolishness to venture between. They've done it once and survived with a great story to tell, so I want it to be an option later they think up themselves. Ooh, we can avoid going through any checkpoints if we cut through the woodland here. For the next few sessions I only need to be 1 ahead, and Route has the woodland war, which makes its own changes to the dynamic landscape, so I can have them think it's easy to return to a clearing to pick up someone or something, only to find it's been irrevocably changed, or is in the middle of an onslaught. As we get to the middle of the campaign, the party's reputation starts to precede them, so they're moving up the food chain of the factions in terms of who they're dealing with. The faction's leadership is fluid. I'll run maybe 1 session now and then like the early ones, but the majority now are kind of skewed towards their progress, with their past deeds affecting how they're seen. Having a faction that likes them press them into doing things that are worse, and still makes it clear that they want their deniability. You have a good reputation with them, but as far as they're concerned, they're the good guys still. Remember, party are the morally grey operatives. There is no good guys faction in Root, but there's also no bad guys faction, or all bad guy factions. I mean, this isn't Warhammer 40k. For the next few sessions, I'll use some of the other story templates I've jotted down, sometimes 2 at the same time, affecting what's going on. From my notes, the person you foiled previously from faction A turns up midway through a routine job for faction B and declares a reward for your head. How does this change the locals' attitudes against and for you? A mysterious letter or box falls into your hands with cryptic delivery instructions and seemingly mundane contents, but other people are desperate to get their hands on it. Discovering one of the factions who you've been treating as if they are actual bad guys is actually a lot whiter than you thought, or grey in total. Ditto for the people you've been treating as the good guys on another occasion or at the same time. On arrival, the guards at the stronghold mistake one of the party for the visiting count or inspector, although it's not evident that's what happened until the group has gone along with the hospitality slightly too far. The clearing is empty when you get there. Everyone packed in a hurry. Some of the doors have red X's painted on them. You wake up and everything is on fire. Someone has been singing songs, actual songs, about the party's deeds, making them famous, painting them as absolute villains. What's the fallout? Why are they doing it? A person from a previous adventure names one or all of you in a will or a divorce or a treasure hunt. Faction A's mine has collapsed, and everyone else is Faction B in this clearing and thinks, ho ho, good riddance. But the local Faction A leader has a juicy reward if the party rescue the miners. What have the party been looking for? We start midway between two clearings when you discover the bridge is out. We start midway between two clearings when you discover a new clearing is being formed that no one else knows about yet. The party accidentally gate crashes and probably ruins a perfectly good wedding or funeral. Is it real or fake? A new, previously unknown faction tries to take over a clearing while the party is there. There's been a murder. And it's not ideal, but you're the only people without a reason to have done it, so you get to be the detectives. Or else, surprise, bears, any of the above, but it's raining or snowing or there's been a flood. I want to get the seasons of the year in because the sessions don't need to depict consecutive days. The key is we don't need to write any of these until it's time to use them. But we can note down as we go the names of people and places and things that could be significant later that are perking up your party's ears. This means if the party obsess over a spur-of-the-moment improvised rumour or an off-the-cuff NPC, there is no sunk cost to worry about when we decide to run with it as their GM. And as an aside, how often is it raining in your games? It costs a fortune on TV to do fight scenes in the rain. At the gaming table, it might only cost the characters their lives. And then for the last session, a two-parter, where our contacts with the factions are now the leaders locally, and they want something. Something links back to the first session or the first clearing. We won't know what it is until we get to this session. We're not writing it before we start, we're writing it as we go. So it's time for one last big job with the potential for a double cross or triple given route setting, and the players will be all excited when you end the session telling them there won't be a speedy resolution because Bill needs to get the bus home, but instead it's a cliffhanger. To be concluded. Obviously, this works with many games. We don't want to write adventures, instead situations. We don't want to write them before the campaign starts, just before the session starts. And there's more situations you can have in route than 3 things are happening and will conclude if you ignore them and leave. Just as there's more situations in D&D than you've heard of a treasure and now you're standing outside a hole in the ground. Look at the setting, work out what the default structure is from what's been written or what you've already created. Don't throw that out, but supplement it. Do use it for the intro sessions. Get everyone in and on board and lead the players up a garden path and then tilt it all sideways once they're ready for a change. I do think planning the length of a campaign and ending it on purpose rather than letting it fizzle out is a great idea. If you haven't heard them, then I have extensive opinions about that in the video you should watch next here.